can we go back to the first slide?
Just a sec. You mean this slide or this slide?
That one, thank you.
Excellent.
Well, we got moved again. Thank you.
Justin, I don't see that you have audio and you had to leave and come back in. Are you okay?
Oh, well, it might take him a moment to get his audio back on if he had to leave.
I don't see that you have audio and you had to leave and come back in. Are you okay?
There we go.
He's there. Yay. Yeah. All right. Well, good morning, everyone. I'm Sonia Doing, and I am co-lead organizer for 1 Million Cups. And for those of you who might never have been to a 1 Million Cups before or joined us on Zoom, what happens is an entrepreneur shares their journey as well as their challenges. And we as the audience can ask them questions during the Q&A. Also help them with their challenges, but if we're asking questions, maybe think about ways that we can challenge the entrepreneur in thinking about new ways about their business. And so I want to thank all of our sponsors, which of course, unfortunately, we don't get to see them, since we've been in self-quarantine or self-isolation, should say. And but our sponsors are Fat Pipe BBQ, which is where we have our great event, usually with a big crowd, and I can't wait till we have another one. Fat Pipe BBQ is a space to rent a workspace. So when we get back to normal, you need a workspace. Check out Fat Pipe BBQ. Jason Collin Photography, he's our photographer. And right now, during self-isolation, he is out there doing a lot of drone photography. And Tune In ABQ, a podcast. So Charles Garrison is one of our organizers, and he kind of took over when we went to self-isolation and helped us get started online. Noventum Custom Software always brings the donuts. So just pretend you're eating a virtual donut this morning. Loza and Loza pays for our coffee. And Sparks Flow has always been managing our Facebook Live when we were live together. And More Than Organized always purchased our creamer for our coffee. I also want to thank all of my organizers because we really had to pivot when we went online. So we have Paul. Paul who's at the command center for the Rebels. We also have Lisa. Lisa is our co-lead. We have Eric, and Eric has done a lot to organize today's presentation. And then we have Charles Garrison and Adam. And so thank you all for being organizers. And I think you're up next, Eric.
Oh my heavens. Oh, let's see. Oh boy. I tell you what we're going to do here. We're going to come, let's see, I got a couple of different housekeeping measures as well. So what we're going to do is we're going to keep folks for the most part muted during the presentations. If you do have questions, go ahead and ask those questions during. We prefer that our speakers not answer the questions as we go. So Justin, just hold off on that for a second, and then we'll do that when we get to the Q&A section afterwards. So let's see. So it's the age of COVID-19. There's a lot of other interesting things going on. Particularly, I think especially interesting in kind of the video and media production world, because now, depending on what kind of business you've got, the way that you represent yourself isn't necessarily by a person in a store, it's by what they see online. It's sometimes that's video, sometimes that's other kinds of meetings and other kinds of activities. So it's a changed world. So talking a little bit about that, but also about his business, White Whale Pictures. We're going to welcome Justin Hunt in, and let's see, I've got a couple things in the background that I got to do. So Justin, are you unmuted? Oh, there you are. Good.
Yeah,
So we're
right
going to make you the spotlight guy.
Sweet.
spotlight video.
All
And
right.
let's see. So we're going to go back to the slide, but I'm actually just going to put you on camera for now. And yeah, please take it away, Justin Hunt.
All right. I appreciate it. I'm really grateful that you guys had me here this morning. It's a shame we can't do it in person. But this is also, I think, very interesting because doing it like this allows people to kind of look at what I'm talking about while I'm talking about it, which is I think a little different than doing the meeting in person. So what we do at Whitewell is fairly unique in the sense that we really have two sides to the company. One is one I won't talk about much today, which is feature films and screenplay writing and things like that. And, that's been a big part of who we are over the past 17, 18 years. You can see behind me some of the films that we've done, toured with Metallica, worked with Val Kilmer, things like that. But that's not really what I want to talk about today. What I want to talk about today is the corporate and commercial video production side of what we do. We work with customers all over the United States, BHP Billiton, Crowley Fuels, Berkshire Hathaway, lots of industrial companies, but also, golf courses, churches, things like that. And what makes Whitewell, I think, unique is that we really focus on storytelling. A story makes you unique, whether it's for marketing and sales material or whether it's for training and safety material for some of these industrial companies. Stories make you unique. Stories, what's important to me about telling a story is that you get an emotional response. And when you get an emotional response from somebody, that's when they retain the information. Stories don't come off like sales if you're using it as a marketing piece. And they kind of break things up. Everybody has their own story and you break the monotony with video production and telling a story that people can relate to. Also, it's like Eric was saying, things have changed a lot. Where we get our information, how we retain that information is very much video based, especially in the world of social media. And so, that's what really drives us. And the dynamics of advertisement and marketing have changed where, I come from a TV background, worked for NBC for almost a decade. And, it was a 30-second spot or a 60-second spot and that's it. But now, with social media and the way that you can advertise, it can be 7 seconds, it can be 7 minutes. It's whatever you want to do, which I think is really fun because that kind of breaks the chains off and you can have a lot more fun doing your video production and talking about your company, talking to your clients, talking to your employees. And going back to what Eric was saying earlier, things are definitely changing. This is a different world now with what we're dealing with. And so where we've really started to focus some of our attention in conversations we have with clients and customers of ours is, if you're talking to your customers or your clients as a business owner, how are you telling them, how you're doing your business differently now? How is it different? How is it more safe? And to employers, how are you training your employees now? And, hopefully, before too long, in post-COVID environment, how are you training your employees to do things differently? And that's where what we do can come into play is, I think a lot of businesses, they're desperate for customers to know that we're still here, we're still doing business, and we're doing it in a safe way. And I see a lot of that marketing on a national level, but not so much on a local level. I think that, we can help people tell their customers and clients, we're still in business, we're doing things safely, and we still need you. And the same thing for employers. Like, we're going to do things differently now. Here's how we're going to do it. And doing that with video is what really helps people retain that information. And then finally, to kind of wrap it up, through the years of doing the films, we've really put together a team of fantastic contractors, being, visual effects, animation, illustration, music, things like that. So pretty much anything that you can think of to help get your message across, whether it's an animation or an illustration, to really make that story stick in someone's mind, we can do that. And that's exciting. And what's really fun is, I've only been here since August in Albuquerque. I grew up in New Mexico, moved away, came back, but now we're starting to build a team of New Mexicans and people in Albuquerque that we're working with to do these things. And so, I guess to summarize what we're about, it's about getting a message across using entertainment, but practicality at the same time. Helping people retain the information by giving them something that's not only useful, but fun to watch. And, if you go to our website, you'll see a lot of examples of that. So, and that's, that's where we are at White Whale Pictures at the moment. And we're really excited to get plugged in and start working with people in and around this community.
That's great. So thanks so much. I'm going to lead off with a couple questions just so everyone knows. So again, with the question and answer section of our talk today, go ahead and put those questions into the chat and we'll try and field them. And somebody else, if you are watching us on YouTube, someone else from the team will be gathering any questions that come up in the chat here and kind of ferrying them over to us as well. Yes, I see the hat tip over there. I love it. So a couple questions that I was just going to lead off with. One is, I'll give you two. I'll give you a choice. So what was it that motivated the move to New Mexico? The other one is your background's more in filmmaking, traditional filmmaking. And I know that adds a lot of value to folks, for more like video production kind of needs. What I'm wondering is the sales cycle in that is so different. How is it finding customers for doing right now? How is there a funnel for that, or how are you finding your customers? So you can go with the easy one or the hard one.
That's a great pair of questions, and I can answer them both for you. I moved to Albuquerque for a girl. That's easy. So yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. To answer the other part of the question, I think a lot of people think that's what we've been doing all this time is major productions like, the documentaries and stuff, but actually we've done close to 700 video productions over the last 17 years. That's actually what we do far more of. And so, but I've learned lately to just separate the two because they're completely different demographics. The film stuff, the customers that we find in our corporate production it's a completely different crowd than if we're going after a feature length production. And so to me, they're really separate. And I actually spend more time on the corporate and commercial side of things because that's what pays the bills. Yeah, actually making movies doesn't pay very well.
Let's see. All right. Any questions from the room that we've got? Let's see. So I know we have some other resource type folks. So when you're doing like a video production, have you used the incentives for some of the production incentives for some of your work? I think for some pieces, if it's sort of like a corporate or promotional video, it may not be eligible. I'm wondering if you've navigated all that or if that's a consideration for you.
Well, I mean, we have navigated that on the feature length side of things, but if we're doing a television commercial for somebody or a safety video for, Bisti Fuels up in the Four Corners area, that it doesn't really apply. And so, yeah, we have navigated that. We can navigate that, but unless it's, it's potentially larger clients, like I'm just throwing things out there, but P&M or Presbyterian or something like that, that might be somewhere where we could investigate the incentives. But I think the smaller projects that we do, it wouldn't fit into that at all.
Okay. And I think Paul Sauter from our team asked a related question. So can you describe your ideal corporate client?
Oh, that's a great question. An ideal corporate client. I think just as far as I'm concerned, an ideal corporate client is somebody who has some trust in what we do and, kind of lets us do our thing. Obviously, they've got the final say in the final product, but somebody that trusts the way that we're approaching things. We like to think outside of the box, not in a crazy way, but just we try not to be cookie cutter. That's what hiring an outside video production company is for, so it can be exactly what you want. And unfortunately, coming from Colorado, I came down from Colorado, and up there I see a lot of production companies that it's pretty much all the same thing. It's all the same style. It's all the same shots. And we like to think outside the box. So a perfect corporate client would say, hey, we trust you. And we've got several of those that we've had. We've got clients that we've had for 10 years that say, okay, we trust you, do your thing. And you know, they get the final say, but they trust us. And that's that give and take in the creative process. That's what really yields the best results.
All right, let's see. One question. So I'll share a question from Amalia. She was asking, do you do internships or other activities to develop young film and video makers?
I do. I actually work and speak with a lot of young filmmakers. You know, we haven't had any interns or anything in Albuquerque yet, but like I said, we just kind of opened up shop up here in August. But that's one of the things that I absolutely love. I had a long conversation yesterday with a filmmaker in the Farmington area that is, you know, wanting to learn. So I love passing on that knowledge, and we definitely try to offer as many opportunities as possible to people that want to learn. We just have to have the clients to go work on the jobs to invite them to come help us.
Excellent. I see
We
a
also
question
have-
from, go ahead.
We have a question from Paul.
Okay.
He wants to know, who is your ideal corporate client?
Yeah, so
Oh, he just asked me that one.
because you're in the YouTube world, or might be in the YouTube world, so we already did that one. I was going to ask David
Oh.
Murphy. David, can you unmute yourself and ask your question?
Yeah, how's it going? Yeah, my question was about your website mentioned you worked with James Hetfield with Metallica. I was just curious what that project was about.
That's a little choppy. What did he ask me, Eric?
He was asking about, it looks like you worked with James Hetfield.
Yes.
And wanted to know a little bit more about that project.
Yeah, I actually worked with James quite a bit. And we've become great friends over the years. He was interviewed in Absent, the poster behind me. And then he narrated my last documentary, which is called Addicted to Porn, Chasing the Cardboard Butterfly. And then a couple of years ago, I was invited to go on tour with Metallica and shoot some stuff for the comedian Jim Brewer while he was on tour with them. And then James and I are personal friends, which is pretty wild because I'm a huge Metallica fan. I have been since I was in high school. So to end up, you know, working with him and being friends with him has been quite an experience. So.
Awesome. That's cool. Let's see. We had I mean, that's, that sounds pretty,
Yeah.
pretty wild.
Let's
see. Let's see, other questions. It looks like we don't have anything else from YouTube at the moment. Oh, so yeah, apparently he's a popular guy. Yeah. We had a comment. Actually, Michael, would you want, you had a comment earlier. Do you want to kind of maybe flesh that out a little bit about doing it safely?
Well, I mean, I don't know if it, I mean, I really resonate to this idea that businesses will need to focus on safety. And I really appreciated hearing that. You know, we know that, I mean, as I look at some of the studies, I just see how simple things can reduce the spread of the virus. And that means that if the virus spread is reduced, that means we can have more economic activity. And with that in mind, I go, well, whose business should I go to? The one that's helping us have more economic activity, or the one that's not doing it well and causing us to have less economic activity? And so I just wanted to applaud that.
Thanks.
Thank you. Well, and another thing too that I just want to point out, you know, one of the other things that I think separates us to a degree is, you know, especially in this time where we're trying to be as safe as possible, is, you know, I do the shooting and the editing and the writing and everything pretty much, unless we're contracting out some work to someone else. So, you know, when we do a video production, we don't necessarily show up with 7 or 8 people, you know, to have all this equipment and all this stuff. We really are pretty streamlined in the way that we do our stuff. And so I know that doesn't sound like a big deal, but right now it is. If we're not bringing, you know, a group of 7 or 8 people to a production, and we can do it, you know, just 1 or 2 people. And so I think that's something to keep in mind as well as we move forward and kind of get out from under this fog.
I say absolutely.
Let's see. I think also we've got, so Adam, I think had a question for both himself and from YouTube.
Yeah, so Alex Ennis on YouTube asks, I have trouble with finding stories to create when I do photography. So for you, when making a video, how do you find a story to tell, especially when there really isn't a story already to tell?
Yeah, that's a great question. And that's the challenge that I actually love, because, if you saw the range of clients and the different things that we have to take on, there is a challenge there because there's not always a story. But, you really kind of reverse engineer it. Like, what do you want the audience, what is the audience, first of all? And what do you want that audience to walk away from the production with? Like, if you're doing some kind of marketing video or even a training video, what do you want the person watching to walk away with? And then how do we get to that? And then what are the dynamics of the situation we're doing a production for? So, that's really where I start. And yeah, sometimes it is hard. How do we make a story out of a drag line at a coal mine? Or how do we make a story out of a home builder? But we find a way to do it. And so, that's the challenge that I actually really enjoy. And, that's another thing too, that we probably don't promote as much as we should, but that I really enjoy doing is, if someone wants to contact us and say, hey, I need a little help conceptualizing an idea, I love doing that. And so, we can offer that as well. As if you're having a hard time coming up with a concept for something you're doing, we can do that. We're not a boutique marketing company. We don't do print and social media and all. We focus on video production, but part of that is coming up with great ideas. And so if there is a caveat to the fact that we're just a production company, it's that I love to write and I love to come up with ideas. So we'll help people with that as well if they need it.
Great. Let's see, we've got a question from, we got a question from Miriam. Would you mind, do you want to unmute yourself and ask that?
All right, good morning. I am wondering, and I may have missed part of it because you cut out a couple of times, but what else are you doing to pivot during this time? Are you working on any of the behind the scenes business systems, or pivoting how you're going to deal with relationships with potential clients in the future?
Yeah, well, that's a great question. Thank you. We were lucky enough to have a couple of significant jobs happen just before this hit, which is a huge blessing. And so, we haven't been struggling as much, luckily, as we're going through this now. Stirring up new business has proven to be a challenge. And, one of the things that we are talking to potential clients about is that, yes, we can do this with a minimized crew. I haven't tapped into the small business loans or anything like that. I'm trying not to, because I don't feel like I should put strain on it if it's not other people may need it more than we do just now. And so I don't want to take advantage just because I can take advantage. So, we're really trying to lean on the clients that we've had for some time. We are sparking up new conversations with new clients about, how are you addressing this post-COVID thing for your customers and for your employees? Those are just a few of the things that we're doing in this time. I also, as a sidebar, there was nothing else to do, so I wrote a movie, and it got optioned after 3 days. So did a little bit of writing, but as far as customers and stuff are concerned, every day we're hustling to try to find new ones, and to make it clear that, hey, we want to work under the confines of safety, and we want to help push your message of safety to your customers and to your employees. I hope that answered your question.
It does. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And let's see. It looks like we've got two more questions. We'll make these the last two from the field, and I've got a couple of questions to help wrap up. So let's see, from Chapman, what would you suggest for small businesses who have a story to tell, who may even have a platform to spread a message, but have limited resources when it comes to production and talent, etc.?
Well, that's something that we actually promoted about a month ago or so. Is, we can help with that, and at a reduced rate. You know, because there are ways to do it where we don't have to shoot original footage and stuff. We can use stock footage or footage that we already have and own in our library. And so, you know, if any of those companies that are wanting to get a message out but don't have the budget, the marketing budget for that, reach out to us and we'll have a conversation. That's a great part about owning the company. I can make a decision on what we can do or not do for what cost. And, you know, helping small businesses that are local, that's important to us. So if anybody is, you know, has an idea and wants to discuss it and they're worried about the budget, just reach out to me and we'll have a conversation and see if we can't figure something out, because we're a small business too. We understand that situation. So if we can help in any way, we want to.
And I think, so there's a question from Alan, and I think you may not have the capacity to do this, but I'll just ask. And he says, the nonprofit sector has taken a significant hit and will need to ramp up outreach. Your company needs to make revenue, so pro bono work is limited by your budget. You also need projects for interns to work on. Would a marriage of intern power and nonprofit need be able to create vehicles for outreach? How much do you have, slack do you have in kind of your capacity to do, I don't know, sort of low, no budget kind of pieces?
We have a lot of wiggle room. We're pretty creative. I can get pretty creative in making something happen. You know, for a low budget, if the motives and the message are right, we can do that. I mean, we did a feature film for $11,000 that made it into AMC theaters. I mean, you can do all kinds of stuff if you get creative enough. And I like that challenge. And I like giving back and I like helping, because I've been in those shoes several times in my life, and people have come through and helped me. So yeah, you know, there are ways to do that, and there is quite a bit of wiggle room, but none of that can happen if the dialogue doesn't start, if a conversation isn't initiated. And so I encourage people to reach out. I'm about as approachable and communicative as you can get. So reach out and let's talk about it and see what happens.
Awesome. I have three. I did not prepare you for this, but I have three questions that we typically wrap up with. So one actually, okay. And one of them actually, we have two questions we typically wrap up with. I wanted to get a quick take on White Whale Pictures and the logo. Where's that coming from?
Well, we were Time and Tide Productions for 16 years, and I was in Colorado Springs and just hit a spot where I'm like, you know, this is getting boring. You need to either push refresh and challenge yourself to, you know, to expand the way you do things, or you're just going to kind of sink to the bottom as Time and Tide. And so I thought a lot about it. White Whale is, you know, it's got a good alliteration. And then I had one of the guys that I was talking about, one of the contractors that I work with. He does a lot of animation and visual effects for me. He created that logo. So you've got the W and the tail, and you've got the H. I don't know if you see the H in the middle.
Yeah.
And yeah, so it just sounded cool. White Whale Pictures. I mean, it's a lot better than Time and Tide Productions. So yeah, so it was just to stir things up a little bit, because stagnation is not my friend. I'm not good at being stagnant at all.
Well, so the standard questions that we ask at every 1 Million Cups Albuquerque are red or green. State question.
That's green. Easy.
Green. Good to hear. I'm always a fan of green. And also, what the last question we have is, what can our community do today, or what can our community do to help you continue to grow your business?
You know, I think just you know, obviously reaching out. We do have a unique way of doing things, and I think sometimes that can scare people. You know, we're not the companies that have been around forever, but we've got 20 years of experience, and a little bit of research will show you that not only have we done some pretty special things over the years, but our work is quite comparable with the highest quality that you'll find around here. And I think, you know, just having an open mind to thinking outside the box. And, you know, you talked about how we do feature films, and, you know, that's what I think translates a lot. Is I'm a feature film minded person, and we bring that cinematic thinking into the small screen. And I think that's what makes for very, very unique, effective marketing, sales, training, safety, all of that stuff. You know, we've done a lot of unique stuff, and using cinematic approaches. And so I think, just reaching out and starting a conversation. If you have an idea, it doesn't cost anything to ask, what we can do with your idea. We don't have any consultation fees or anything. We just like to talk about telling stories. And so that's what we need from the community, is to, open your minds and your businesses to having somebody new in town, and see what we might be able to do to help your business.
Awesome. Well, thanks very much to Justin. Typically in the room, we'd give a round of applause. I don't know if you've got the thing where you can put your hands up in the air or something like that, but I'll encourage you to do that. On the screen, let's see where, yes, thank you, Michael. Oh yes, Adam's using the thing. We got elbow bumps. We got all sorts of good stuff going on.
Chicken wing. Yeah.
Well, let's see. So the next section here today is, do we have our events and announcements? So I've got a few. What I'm also going to ask is if folks don't mind sharing those in the chat as well. We do have 2 presenters today, so we want to get on to Eric Streeper in just a little bit. But if you do have events or other announcements, please go ahead and place those in the chat, and we'll try and get them up. A couple different things that I wanted to share. So let's see, if you are part of a business that has been affected by COVID-19, or know a small business that's like that needs help expanding, the New Mexico Small Business Recovery course is being offered again. And that the new course runs June 1st through July 17th. Let's see, oh yeah. So that's coming up real soon, and they encourage you to go ahead and sign up for that now. Let's see, AFWorks. Some people are familiar with SBIRs, STTRs, and some of the great work that's happening with Air Force with their research labs. AFWorks is a different arm of the Air Force that also helps spark, let's see, I'll just call it like business innovation. And they've got a call out for proposals. I should mention that when you think about the Air Force, or when you think about AFWorks, the thing that they reminded me of is that in addition to, aerial platforms and all that kind of stuff, they have, tens of thousands of people that are working there. So they have commissaries, they have healthcare, they have all of those kinds of things that are part of the Air Force, Air Force world. And they're looking for small business innovation that applies to any of that. So I will just share that, if you're interested, there is a call out now for more information from AFWorks. Let's see. Oh yeah, we've got, looks like Sonia's got an event with Plot Duckies. And let's see, Adam has mentioned an event from Activate NM, which is this Friday. They have a great series. I will mention that our bilingual cousins, let's see, from Taza, they are now going back online. So they haven't been online quite yet. Their first session is actually tomorrow. So give them a warm welcome if you can. Let's see, they typically take place, it's Thursdays from 9 to 10 a.m., typically at South Valley Economic Development Center, and they're working with the Hispano Chamber of Commerce. So they've got their event coming up tomorrow. In addition to that, I got 2 more events for tomorrow, and then I will shut up. One is from the good folks at Santa Fe Innovates. Let's see, they've got a session tomorrow mid-morning that is about pricing strategies. They're going to be talking about how to do pricing strategies for your business. And also my organization, Forward Cities, we do ecosystem building, entrepreneurial ecosystem building. And for some people in the world of economic development, that means something. For a lot of other people, it's a big mystery. So if that is a mystery, and if you're curious about what's happening with that around the country, how the Kauffman Foundation is involved, and also what's happening in North Central New Mexico, I encourage you to join us for that. Any other announcements? Let's see, I don't think I hit Plot Duckies as well as I should. Sonia, do you want to say anything about your flash fiction workshop?
Sure. We have a flash fiction workshop. Normally we take the train. This time we are obviously doing virtual, and it's a one-day workshop where we come up with ideas for your story, you write, we edit, we review, we edit again. And by the end of the day, you have a finished flash fiction story to submit somewhere. And yeah, that's May 23rd. And you can find more info on Facebook at Plot Duckies.
Awesome. Very, very cool. So let's see, I'm going to stop sharing for a second we'll see some lovely faces in the audience. It is a little different experience being online than it is being in the house. So we are very eager for us to get back when it's safe to do so, to get back to Fat Pipe and see everybody in person again. Although I'm glad that we're getting more interest and outreach, et cetera, online. Next up, so we have two presenters today, both in the kind of the film and media production world. Eric Streeper, I've known a little bit on and off. I think I met Eric probably around the time that he was launching, and I will ask him for the pronunciation of his company name because I'm not sure if I asked that before. But around the time we were starting it, and what I like about it is it's sort of between the worlds of tech and media production. So so he's a real force, ecosystem builder, connector, et cetera, in the Santa Fe area. So really glad to have Eric joining us here today. And Eric, I'm gonna go ahead and stop my sharing, if I can figure out how to do that. And let's see. And yeah, go ahead and let's get you on camera.
All right, thanks, Eric. Yeah, let's see here. Okay, so what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen here, and if you can all see me, let's see.
I may need to do a thing. Let me see.
There could be a thing, yeah.
Shoot. Let's see. This is interesting. I'm
It's one of the joys of the brave new world we all live in, I guess.
It is. I'm not. There we go. Okay, now I can stop sharing. I had to share it again in order to find the stop sharing button. So sorry about that. Thanks, Eric.
Okay. Yeah, so it may be, so it says that the host has disabled attendee screen sharing. I'm not sure if maybe you need to enable it on for me or something. But
let's see. Let me double check that.
I can also.
That is weird. Technical difficulties. It should be all participants, but let's see. I will. How about go ahead and try it now again. Oh, and thanks. We have a couple folks. Oh, good.
Okay, so I presume everyone can probably see this now. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, so thank you all. First of all, just thank you all for being here, and to Adam and Sonia and Eric and all the organizers. We really appreciate this. This is a really cool thing for us to be able to do. I've made it down to the 1 million cups in person before, even though I'm not a morning person, and so it's a bit of it's a bit tough to get up at 7 in the morning for me and head down there. But yeah, so I'm just really happy to be here. So, okay, so basically the problems that Justin was kind of talking about, one thing he said is that, it's films don't really make money, and that is essentially the problem that we're looking to kind of address. And so the way that we do that is by opening up kind of new video markets for creators that weren't accessible to them before. And I know it's kind of vague, but we'll get into that in a little bit here. So essentially the problem right now that we see is that the large film and media companies, they're the ones that have built the services and they have the engineering talent to do that. And they've set up these systems that they're able to use to release their own content. But the priority is always going to be on their own content. And so even if they license your content, they're going to basically be able to pick from you or the thousands and thousands of other people that are kind of standing in line behind you waiting to get your content onto these platforms. And so because you don't really have, as an independent filmmaker, you don't have access to distribution that you control, this is very problematic. So you don't really have too much of a chance of actually doing well in these marketplaces. So just to give you an idea, just real quick before we start of kind of working on this, there's 7 of us now. There's kind of 5 founders and a couple of, and then a couple more that have sort of come in after that. And 3 of us have more than 10 years of software experience. So we have kind of a lot of good software talent. We have people that have worked in oil and gas and done data analytics and that kind of thing. And also something I'm really, really happy about with my team, and it's really helpful when you have a small team, is that we're very much generalists. So we've kind of had a lot of different experiences in a lot of different areas, which has been very, very helpful, because there's just not that many people to do the work. So you have to kind of be able to do just about anything, or be able to learn how to do anything. The other thing is that we really think of ourselves like a teaching organization. And so we definitely like to have a lot of interns, and we like to train people. And we think that that's the best case scenario for us in terms of making sure there's a good talent pipeline for us in the future, is to find just really talented and naturally smart people, and get them trained up and bring them through that way. Okay, so we have two products. The first one is called Watch Anytime, and this we released about 1.5 years ago, and it's subscription based. And so it's fairly similar to Netflix in the sense that people pay a monthly fee and are able to get access to a whole body of content that's been made available through these channels. And I just want to highlight some of the channels. These ones are all in New Mexico. So this is the Santa Fe Film Festival, Borderlands Media, which is in Las Cruces, Digifab, which I thought they were interesting because they're actually not film. They're doing training in advanced manufacturing, like laser cutting, 3D printing, that kind of thing, and Kids First. And I just thought this also just gave a good idea of how broad the offerings are with that. Now, when COVID-19 hit, we saw kind of like, all the festivals and all these in-person events were all canceling. We decided that we were going to create another product called virtual events. And those we basically got out the door in just under a month. So it was really, we were lucky that we were able to kind of reuse a lot of the infrastructure and payment processing and video transcoding and sort of all these things that we already had in place, that we were sort of able to kind of piggyback off of that. But it was still a very, very busy 3.5 weeks for sure. And some of the organizations that are using these are, so there's the Hola Mexico Film Festival, which is the largest festival of Mexican film outside of Mexico, and that's in LA. There's the Fairy Tales, which is a queer film festival, and they're based out of Calgary. La Leaf is the LA Latino International Film Festival, also based out of LA, of course. And then the New York Underground Comedy Film Festival. And again, just want to kind of give an idea of sort of how many different types of events were happening here. And so let's see. So what we do is, so basically the channels, each one of these is, they're kind of in charge in theory of their marketing and the video curation. Now in practice, of course, we want them to be successful. So we definitely kind of help out on marketing when we can. We kind of work with them to send out press releases and to coordinate on social media and that kind of thing. But we take care of basically everything else and just make all the things that were really hard before, make those really easy. So that includes the payment processing for subscriptions, and as well as for ticketing, calculating royalties to filmmakers and making actual payments, transcoding video files, and of course, delivering the final files to the viewers, and data processing, analytics, support for both them and their subscribers, and also, of course, product development, which kind of goes without saying. And at this point, what I think I will do is just kind of show you a couple of these to give you an idea, because this is probably still a little bit vague, but okay, so here we go. So here we have the Independent Shorts Awards, and I just want to kind of highlight them. They're also based out of LA, and this is they're using this Watch Anytime product. They actually have both set up, but they haven't set up any events yet. But I just kind of want to give you an idea of how like the sort of Watch Anytime component works on that. So you can see that there's this whole, they have this whole collection of films that are available here. And I, as a subscriber, could come in and I could just kind of pick any of these. I could watch them. I could also kind of take place in discussions around them, which is another feature that we kind of just rolled out. But the thing I want to kind of highlight also is that, so rather than using categories, what we actually decided to go with are these tags. And the nice thing about these is that they're stackable. So for instance, if I want to find an animation, I could click on that, but then I could say, well, okay, I want to see one that's like a comedy animation. I could click that, and then both of those are selected, and just the ones that sort of match all of the tags are going to come up. So it makes it so even though they have close to 400 videos, you can actually kind of drill down really quickly and find something to watch fairly quickly, which is a big complaint we've kind of heard about Netflix and that kind of thing, that people spend a lot of time looking for something to watch. And then just to give you an idea of the virtual events, what those look like. So this is the Hola Mexico Film Festival, and you have this calendar view that shows everything that's coming up, and they've been able to kind of set this price. they can set when the event actually starts and when it ends. And so you have to watch the content between that window. And then you're able to register these, and then you get access to it just for that kind of limited window. And this is actually the product that came out. So we released this about 3 weeks ago. And just to kind of jump back in the presentation here. Okay, so first of all right, so how do we make money off of all this? It's pretty straightforward. Off of the virtual events, we take 18% of ticket sales, or $1, whichever is less. In other words, it's capped at $1. And for the watch anytime, which is the subscription side, we take 18% of sales of that. And both those are after payment processing fees. And so it's been a really, really exciting time for us. So we, like I mentioned, we launched Watch Anytime about 1.5 years ago, and the virtual events about a month ago. And so half of all of the users on Zurb who have ever signed up for Zurb have done so in the last 14 days. So it's been really, really wild. I went to bed on Sunday and woke up and I looked, and I noticed that we had like 250 more people than the day before, and I was just like amazed. And so it's been really, really good for us since we kind of launched this virtual event product. It seems like we've gotten a lot of really good traction with that. And so we've gone from just over 1,700 users to now 3,460 today. And so that's been very, very exciting. It seems like that's kind of really caught hold. And so it's been unlike anything we've experienced before. I didn't realize that we could kind of be more busy than we had been, but it turns out you certainly can be. And so this is so if anyone needs to get in contact with me, this is my contact information. I know Eric, I know you had shared that before and whatnot. But this is essentially our story so far, and we've really focused on kind of trying to address the current need, and it seems we've really hit on something, and we've actually noticed some really interesting aspects of this. Like, we had spent a lot of time just emailing film festivals and doing a lot of outreach. We went to Film Freeway and started just grabbing email addresses off of there and contacting people. And what's happened now is that proved effective. So we were able to kind of get our first people doing that. But now what's really nice is that a lot of the festivals that are starting to come online, it's actually from other festivals that we're working with currently that are talking to other people they know in the festival world. And so we're actually starting to get inbound traffic, which is a really, really good position to be in. And that's kind of, it seems to be a really good sign that we're doing something right. We also have started doing these virtual events already, and so we've already held several of them. The first one, we got some support requests and that kind of thing. We fixed those issues, and it feels really good because like we've had 2 events now in a row that actually no end users have contacted us for any kind of support or anything, which kind of says to us, I think, that it seems like we've kind of made improvements with the product and whatnot, and it's been good. So yeah, I mean, at this point, I'm happy to. That's a basic overview, but I'm of course happy to answer questions and that sort of thing.
Awesome, that's fantastic. So thanks so much for the presentation. Let's open it up to, let's see, Chapman. Actually, do you want is that a comment of customer discovery? Let's see. How about Alan? Can I get your voice on? Do you want to unmute yourself? And if not, I can always do it.
Alan, do you have the capability to broadcast live events, something like live theater?
So we don't yet. We think though actually that, so one of our festivals wants to be able to do that. Actually, several want to be able to do that, and so we think that actually we'll be able to kind of get that in place fairly quickly. We're actually looking to do it for an event that's happening next week. So we think that. We're hoping that over this weekend, the weekends seem to be our best development times. It's a little bit quieter. So we think that we're going to be able to get something in place for that this coming week. Now, something though that I've noticed is that for the festivals, the instinct seems to be that they want things to kind of run as close to an actual festival as it can be. Now that doesn't necessarily work in the same way though. So like we've actually seen that engagement with live events has been sort of lower than we would have liked to see. But something though that we have seen a lot of engagement with is kind of the new discussions that we've put into place. And those are something where if people are familiar with Reddit and the Ask Me Anythings, it's sort of set up like that, where you can basically make a comment, and and the filmmaker could respond to your question, and then you could respond to their reply, they could reply to your reply of their reply, and that sort of thing. And so that's actually we've seen really high engagement with that. I mean, the data is very early, but we've seen that when the filmmaker sort of posts in those discussions that we've gotten as high as 30% of people that will actually participate in those, like 30% of the viewers will participate in those, and ask kind of, about 2.6 posts per person. And to kind of give you an idea, so for like a general YouTube video, you're looking at well below 1% of people who view the video will kind of make a comment on it. In fact, it's really a fraction of a percent. So we've seen really good engagement with that. So we think that actually is going to be pretty valuable. But we also see the need, we see the excitement between live events, and so we are kind of integrating that. Maybe slightly begrudgingly, but definitely doing an integration for that as well. We think that they're kind of complementary, and so it adds something. But we think actually the discussions that we have may actually prove to be more valuable even than the virtual events would be for engagement.
If I could just follow up, for live theater, their subscription base trends towards older folks. And as we come out of this pandemic, I think that people my age are going to be very hesitant to venture back to live events. And broadcasting a live event on a subscription basis may be a way to maintain that audience and not lose them. So it may be something you might want to think about in terms of a customer base.
Well, I think that's a really good point. And when we set out doing this, and even before the pandemic, I mean, our thought process was, we to provide something beyond what you can kind of get on the streaming services. So with the Watch Anytime product, for instance. And so it's very strange to us, for instance, that you and I, for instance, could not be like friends on Netflix. Like, there's no way that we can kind of share what we're watching with each other, that sort of thing. There's no social experience through any of these platforms. And so we had already kind of set out with the goal of doing that. And now that the pandemic has happened, that community side of it, that is just as important as the actual viewing side of it. And especially for festivals, I mean, that's why a lot of people go to festivals. They go there to meet people, to interact with new people, to make professional connections, to make personal connections. And the closer we can get to kind of creating that experience, the better off we think that we'll be. And so we have focused on a lot of features that we think go towards that community building side. So the discussions being one of them, but along with the discussions, we've also kind of we've rolled out like profiles, so you can set up a profile picture and a bio, and you can put your social media handles and that kind of thing in there. People are able to share as much or as little as they want on those. But in the discussions, if you click on someone's picture or their name, you can actually go and see who you're talking to. And so it starts to make it where it's more that you're talking to a person rather than just kind of it makes it much more of a kind of social feel than you would get on like a larger streaming service. And so I think you're right. And I think that there is going to be, unfortunately, there's going to be danger for quite a while, I think, until probably realistically until, a vaccine is in place. And the more we can kind of keep these communities from being fragmented, the better. I mean, I think it's healthy for people if they can kind of stay connected with people, but also be able to stay connected in a way that's genuine, where you're having, deeper conversations rather than just kind of, shouting stuff on Twitter or that kind of thing, which is good also and has its place, but it's not the same as being able to talk to someone in person. So certainly, yeah.
We got a couple questions from the chat. I'll ask Melody to ask her question. After that, it'll be Brad.
Okay, Eric. So how excited are you to share your story with Kick-Ass Entrepreneurs on June 4th?
Oh, I'm so excited, Melanie. That's gonna be really great. It'll be fun because I just to give a full background, I did Kick-Ass Entrepreneurs. How long ago was it? I mean, it was over.
You were our very second. So it was March 1st, 2018. And Eric Renskitmore was there. I believe you were there, right, Eric? Yes. So yeah, from how you've changed from then till now. So this was already in the works before Eric Renz Whitmore scooped up Eric and deserved to do this today. But I'm so excited because it's a great story of something fantastic that's happened during all of this.
Yeah, so just a little background on that. So when Melanie asked me to do that, I hadn't finished. The product wasn't shipped yet, the Watch Anytime product. And I said, well, okay, this will be a good thing. I'll use this to we'll announce our launch. It'll make sure that I stay on target. And so I expected that it was going to be out by the time of the talk, and I think 6 months after that it was. And now we actually, it'll be interesting because we'll actually have products out in the real world. So that'll be hopefully a little more to talk about, I guess. So
I think
that's great. And I'll put in an extra note just to say, Melanie hosts really one of the best meetups in the state. It's really a great opportunity, and that was the first one I got to. So I didn't make it for the first one, but I did make it to the second. And another thing, if you'll go ahead and check out the link that's in the chat there, and we'll post it on our socials as well with 1 Million Cups. But she also does. They also get some slots to help out with the food. What is it? I'm spacing on it. The food depot in Santa Fe, volunteer slots. So they're actually volunteering there tomorrow, and they do that I want to say on a monthly basis. So there's a lot of good things that Melanie and Kick-Ass Entrepreneurs in Santa Fe are doing. So big shout out to them. Brad, let's see. Brad Malone from the Film Office. We're so glad to have some folks from the State Film Office in the house today.
Sure.
Brad, can you go ahead and ask your question?
For sure. And congrats on the business that you've started there, especially with the conference and that virtual business, because we immediately recognized that this pandemic is going to be with us for some time. It's going to be at least 2 years, maybe more, before large gatherings of people are going to be allowed to just congregate just willy-nilly, so to speak. But we also are interested in going ahead and moving forward with our annual film conference, our film and media conference, as well as our showcase, which is our film festival, and just trying to get a feel for, since this stuff's already been branded, it's already been sort of set up in the past and staged in the past. We bring something to you. How long do you see, getting something set up? If we literally, I said, bring all of it to you as marketing included, for you to set it all up and then us to do it. Is it like a month-long setup time? Is there, some?
No, actually. So we've really focused on making these super easy to set up. And so actually to set up one of the virtual events, I mean, it literally takes 10 minutes, the hardest part is usually kind of wrangling the filmmakers, making sure that they get their content uploaded, but they can upload it directly if they want. You can also upload the video files yourself. But we've definitely made it so that they're very, very fast to get started. And we had, the Hola Mexico Film Festival set up their 8 virtual events yesterday in about an hour. So,
wow.
So it's definitely a quick process once you get used to it. Yeah.
Great. Good to know. Thanks.
Awesome. That's fantastic. Let's see. We are pretty much out of time, so I'm going to go to my go-to questions. Let's see, and I'll check in with the rest of the 1 Million Cups team in a second, just to see if there's anything else that we forgot or that we also need to announce. But yeah, so Eric, red or green?
It depends on the day. I guess I'll go green, but I feel like you're asking me to pick a favorite child,
That is that is a very reasonable response. I think, I won't get into it, but that sounds great. I appreciate the answer. The nuanced answer is very good. What also can we as a community do to help you continue to grow your business?
For us, definitely just spreading the word. If anyone knows anyone that could benefit by putting on virtual events, we'd love to talk to them. I think even attending virtual events that'd be a really good thing to kind of do as well. I think for us, just at this stage, everything's pretty much built. We just are trying to get the word out. So that'd be really helpful. We'd really appreciate anything on those lines.
Very cool. Thank you so much. Round of applause for Eric and also for Justin, for our presenters today. Hands or however you want to do that. That's fantastic. That's helpful. Elbows. I'm seeing hands on my camera. So Yeah, very, very happy to see, I don't know, it's tough to overstate the impact that Anne had in the Albuquerque's, film world. So I'm just really tickled to see my friend there from the wilds of Corrales. Let's see, anything else from the team? We've got our sponsors up. I'm not sure if we mentioned it earlier, but I'll just run through it again. So Sonia Dewing and Lisa Adkins are the lead organizers for 1 Million Cups. In addition to that, we've got Charles Garrison, we've got Adam Sparks Brechtel, we've got Paul Sauter. I'm not sure if I'm forgetting anybody, but we just want to thank you for joining us here today. We hope you'll join us for future 1 Million Cups events and perhaps apply. 1mcabq.com is a great place to go. It's relatively straightforward to get set up and, a little bit of coaching and get you online. But we are now at 10 o'clock and I want to thank you again and be respectful of your time. We hope to see you again in 1MC Nation. Thanks for supporting local business. Appreciate it.
Thank you.